Captain Jun Park rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the main screen on the bridge of the U.S. Defiant. The distress signal blinked steadily, a red dot against the black of space. It came from a part of space that no ship should be in. That was the first red flag. "How long has the signal been broadcasting?" Jun asked, his voice calm despite the worry growing in his gut. Lieutenant Hyun, a small woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper mind, looked up from her communications panel. 4 hours, 17 minutes, sir. It began suddenly with no build-up or decay pattern. She frowned. That's not normal for a genuine emergency beacon. Commander Song stepped closer to Jun. They had served together for 7 years, and Jun trusted him more than anyone else on the ship. Song didn't waste words. It's a trap. Jun nodded slowly. Most likely. He turned to address the bridge crew. Everyone is thinking it, so let's say it out loud. The Vraken. The name hung in the air like a bad smell. The Vraken Collective had been pushing at the edges of human space for 3 years now. They were tall, insect-like aliens with technology far beyond Earth's. But they were careful, always testing human responses, never committing to full-scale war. 3 Earth ships had gone missing in this sector in the past month. Each one had responded to a distress call. Each one had never come back. "We can't ignore it," said Jun after a long silence. "If there's even a 1% chance that real people need help out there, we have to check." Engineer Da, who rarely spoke up in bridge discussions, cleared his throat. "Captain, I've been studying the Vraken comm signals we intercepted. There's something off about this beacon. The timing between pulses is exactly, and I mean exactly, 4 seconds. No drift. Real emergency beacons always have some drift." Jun smiled at the young engineer. "Good catch, Da. More evidence it's a trap." He tapped his fingers on the arm of his command chair, "which means we can prepare for it." He turned to his tactical officer. "Jin, what's our weapons status?" Lieutenant Jin, a broad-shouldered man with a serious face, responded instantly. "All systems green, Captain. Rail guns charge, missile bays full, shields at maximum." "Good. Now how far are we from Fleet Command?" "At maximum speed, the nearest battle group is 14 hours away," Jin replied. Jun nodded, too far to wait for backup. He made his decision. "Set course for the distress signal, but stop just outside sensor range. We'll take a closer look before going in." "Aye, Captain," the helmsman responded, entering the coordinates. As the ship turned toward the signal, Jun called a meeting of his senior officers in the strategy room just off the bridge. 5 people gathered around the holographic display table. Jun, Commander Song, Lieutenant Hyun, Lieutenant Jin, and Engineer Da. "Let's assume it's a Vraken trap," Jun began. "What do they expect us to do?" "Rush in to help," Song said. "They know humans can't ignore a cry for help. It's both our strength and our weakness." Hyun nodded. Their study of Earth history would show them that human emergency protocols always prioritize rescue operations. "So they expect us to fly straight to the source of the signal," Jin added, "probably with minimal scanning and maximum speed." Jun smiled. "Then that's exactly what we won't do." He turned to Da. "I need options. How can we approach without being detected?" The young engineer thought for a moment. "The Rigel Nebula is only 2 light hours from the signal source. If we drop out of FTL behind it, the radiation would mask our approach. We could launch probes from there." "Good thinking." Jun turned to Jin. "And if it is an ambush?" The tactical officer straightened. "We've been working on something new, sir. A modification to our forward shields based on what we've learned from the Vraken attacks on the Kingston and the Sagan. Their energy weapons operate on a specific frequency range. We've designed a countermeasure. Will it work?" Jin's face was serious. "In simulations, yes. In real combat, we'll find out." Jun nodded. "Better than nothing." He looked at Hyun. "What about communications? If we need to call for help, The Vraken will try to jam us. I've prepared an old-style backup system, she said with a slight smile. Tight beam laser communication. Ancient technology by modern standards, but the Vraken might not be looking for it. Excellent. June looked around at his team. We're walking into a trap, but we're doing it with our eyes open. They're studying us, learning about humanity. But we've been studying them too. 4 hours later, the Defiant dropped out of FTL Drive behind the swirling gases of the Rigel Nebula. The massive cloud of dust and ionized gases would hide them from all but the most detailed scans. Launch probes, June ordered. Passive sensors only. Let's see what we're dealing with. 3 small probes silently left the ship, their tiny engines pushing them toward the source of the distress signal. The bridge crew waited in tense silence as the data began to come in. Getting readings now, Hyun announced. The signal is coming from nothing. There's no ship there, just a small beacon floating in space. And around it, June asked. Jin's voice was tight. 3 large energy signatures hiding in the shadow of the 4th planet. Vraken warships, almost certainly. Bigger than anything we've encountered before. June's mind raced through options. They want us to approach the beacon, then they'll spring the trap. He turned to his second in command. Song, remember that battle from Earth history I was telling you about? The one with Admiral Yu? Song nodded slowly, a smile spreading across his face. The Battle of Myongyang. Luring a superior force into a narrow strait where their numbers worked against them. Exactly. June pointed to the star map. The beacon is positioned here, with the Vraken ships hiding behind this gas giant. If we approach from this vector instead, using the planet's rings as cover, we can get much closer before they detect us. And then what, sir? Jin asked. Even with our shield modifications, we're outgunned 3-1. June smiled. Then we spring our own trap. He turned to Engineer Da. How quickly can you modify our distress beacon to match the exact signal pattern of the Vraken lure? Day thought for a moment. 20 minutes, maybe less. Do it. And Hyun, prepare a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we've identified the Vraken ships responsible for the missing vessels and are engaging. Include our exact coordinates. As his crew rushed to carry out his orders, Jum stared at the tactical display. The Vraken thought they understood humanity. They saw humans' willingness to help others as a weakness to exploit. They didn't realize that same quality had forged a species that had survived countless disasters, enemies, and challenges throughout its history. They think they're the hunters, Jum said quietly to Commander Song. They don't realize they're about to become the hunted. The Defiant moved silently through the rings of the gas giant, ice and rock particles masking its approach. On the bridge, Captain Jun Park watched as the distance to the Vraken ambush grew smaller. The trap was set, but not the one the Vraken had planned. The U.S. Defiant drifted silently through the debris field of the gas giant's rings. On the bridge, Captain Jun Park watched the main screen with narrow eyes. The 3 Vraken warships were still hiding behind the planet, waiting for prey that would never come. Status report, Jum said quietly, as if the aliens might hear him through the vacuum of space. Lieutenant Jin checked his tactical display. We're maintaining position behind the largest concentration of ring particles. Our heat signature is masked. They haven't moved from their ambush position. Beacon modifications complete. Engineer Day announced from his station. It's an exact copy of their lure signal, down to the millisecond timing pattern. June nodded. And our message to Fleet Command. Lieutenant Hyun looked up from her communications panel. Sent via laser pulse. No way for the Vraken to detect it. Admiral Min has acknowledged. The battle group will arrive in. She checked the chronometer. 10 hours, 43 minutes. Too long to wait, Commander Song said, voicing what everyone was thinking. Agreed, said June. We need to buy time. He stood and walked to the center of the bridge. Here's the plan. We'll launch our modified beacon from the far side of the ring system, making it look like another ship has arrived to answer the original distress call. The Vraken will think it's a second target. Song nodded in understanding. Exactly. When they move to intercept, we'll have a window of opportunity. We use that window to approach their original beacon and plant some surprises of our own. Jin raised an eyebrow. Surprises, sir. June smiled. How many mining charges do we have in storage from our asteroid survey mission last month? 16 Class 4 explosive devices, Jin answered. Designed for breaking up iron core asteroids. And how many of our stealth probes can we spare? Engineer Dae consulted his inventory. We have 5 left after the 3 we already launched. Perfect. June turned to the main tactical display. We're going to play a little shell game with our Vraken friends. Jin, I want those mining charges loaded onto the probes. Dae, program the probes to place the charges around the original beacon in a spherical pattern. Understanding dawned on Jin's face. Creating a minefield. Precisely, Jun nodded. And then we're going to lure them right into it. 20 minutes later, the plan was in motion. The Defiant launched its fake distress beacon on the opposite side of the gas giant. The signal was identical to the Vraken's lure, broadcasting on the same frequency with the same timing pattern. Beacon away. Hun confirmed. Signal is active. The bridge crew held their breath, watching the sensor readings of the Vraken ships. For 2 long minutes, nothing happened. Then, movement, Jin reported, a note of excitement in his voice. 2 of the Vraken warships are breaking position. They're heading toward our fake beacon. They took the bait, Song said. June nodded. Launch the probe package now, while their attention is divided. 5 small probes silently detached from the Defiant, each carrying 3 mining charges. They accelerated quickly toward the original Vraken beacon, using the planet's rings as cover until the last possible moment. Probes on trajectory, Dae confirmed. 8 minutes until they reach target position. June turned to Jin. What about the 3rd Vraken ship? Still in its original position, it hasn't moved. They left a guard, Song observed. Smart, but not smart enough, Jun replied. Helm, bring us around to these coordinates. He sent a series of numbers to the pilot station. Keep us in the densest part of the ring debris. The Defiant began to move, slowly and carefully navigating through the field of ice and rock that circled the gas giant. Their destination would put them at the perfect angle to observe both the original beacon and the approaching Vraken ships. Probes have reached their targets, Dae announced after several tense minutes. Deploying mining charges now. On the tactical display, 16 red dots appeared in a sphere around the Vraken's original beacon. Each charge was powerful enough to break apart a small asteroid or punch a hole through a warship's hull. Charges are in position, Jin confirmed. Ready to detonate on your command. June nodded. Now for Phase 2. Hyun, prepare to broadcast on all frequencies. I want to get their attention. The communications officer looked surprised, but quickly prepared her station. Ready when you are, Captain. June took a deep breath. This is Captain Jun Park of the Earth Unified Space Fleet vessel Defiant. To the Vraken ships currently in this system, we are aware of your presence and your intentions. The ships you've destroyed and the crews you've killed will be answered for. He paused, letting his words hang in space. But I'm offering you one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. The bridge was silent as his message traveled across the vacuum. Then Hyun's console lit up. They're responding, Captain. The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The Vraken commander was tall and insect-like, with a hard exoskeleton and compound eyes that reflected the light in 1,000 tiny fragments. When it spoke, its mandibles clicked together in a rhythm that the translation software struggled to keep up with. Human Captain. The translation came through in a flat, artificial voice. Your bravery is noted but misplaced. You have walked into our trap with eyes open, and for that you have earned a warrior's death, rather than the surprise that met your fellowships. June smiled. I think there's been a misunderstanding. You see, we didn't walk into your trap. He nodded to Jin. We built a better one. Jin's finger pressed the detonation control. Around the original Vraken beacon, 16 mining charges exploded simultaneously. The third Vraken ship, the one they had left to guard their lure, had moved closer to investigate June's transmission. It was less than 2 kilometers from the blast. The explosions ripped through space, sending out waves of debris and energy. On the main screen, they watched as the guard ship was caught in the blasts. Its shields flared bright blue under the assault, then failed completely. Hull breaches appeared across its surface as atmosphere vented into space. Direct hit, Jin reported, his voice tight with controlled excitement. The guard ship is severely damaged. Life support failing, weapons offline. And the other two? June asked. Turning back. They've detected the explosions and are moving to assist their companion. June nodded. Good, that gives us our opening. He turned to Song. Have the shuttle bay prepare Rescue Team Alpha. Full tactical gear. Song raised an eyebrow. Sir, we're going to board the damaged Vraken ship, June explained. The Vraken have been studying us, learning our habits, our responses, our technology. It's time we return the favor. That's extremely risky, Captain, Hyun said carefully. It is, June agreed. But the ship's defenses are down, and we need information. The Vraken have been one step ahead of us this whole time because they know more about us than we know about them. This is our chance to even the odds. Commander Song nodded slowly. I'll lead the boarding party myself. No, Jun shook his head. I need you here. If something goes wrong, you're the one I trust to get the ship and crew to safety. He turned to Jin. Lieutenant, you'll lead the boarding team. Take Da with you. I want his technical expertise. Get into their computer systems, download everything you can, and get out before the other ships arrive. Jin stood straight. Yes, sir. As Jin and Da left the bridge to prepare, Jun turned back to the main screen. The damaged Vraken ship was drifting, emergency lights blinking across its hull. The other two warships were racing back, but they were still several minutes away. This is the turning point, Jun said quietly to Song. Either we come out of this with the knowledge we need to fight them effectively, or we don't come out at all. Song finished the thought. Jun nodded grimly. Begin countdown to boarding operation, and may luck be on our side today. Lieutenant Jin checked his tactical gear one last time as the shuttle approached the damaged Vraken ship. Next to him, Engineer Da looked pale but determined, his hand steady as he secured his helmet. Remember, Jin told the 6-person boarding team, we have 20 minutes at most before the other Vraken ships get here. Our priority is their command center and data cores. We get in, download what we can, and get out. The team nodded. They were all veterans, chosen for both combat skills and technical knowledge. Approaching docking port, the shuttle pilot announced. Scans show minimal resistance. Their emergency systems are trying to seal hull breaches. Most of their crew appears to be gathered in their central chambers. Good, Jin said. That means less resistance on our path to the command center. He turned to Da. Are you ready? The young engineer patted the special device hanging at his belt. Ready. This data extractor should bypass their security. I just need 5 minutes with their main computer. The shuttle shuddered as it connected to the Vraken ship's emergency airlock. Red warning lights flashed as the computer systems negotiated the connection between the two very different vessels. Connection established. The pilot confirmed. Good luck in there. Jin nodded and signaled to his team. Helmets on. Weapons ready. Let's move. Back on the Defiant, Captain Jun Park watched anxiously as the boarding team's life signs appeared on the tactical display. 6 small blue dots moving into the massive red outline of the Vraken warship. How long until the other Vraken ships return? He asked. Lieutenant Hyun checked her readings. 17 minutes at their current speed. And our rescue shuttle. Ready to launch the moment the boarding team gives the signal. Commander Song confirmed. Jun nodded, his face tight with concentration. Keep our weapons charged and ready. If those Vraken ships get here before our team is out, we'll need to create a distraction. Inside the alien vessel, Jin led his team through dark corridors, lit only by emergency lighting. The artificial gravity was failing, making each step strange and uncertain. The air was breathable, but had an odd smell, like burnt metal, and something sweet. No sign of crew in this section, one of the team members reported, checking his scanner. Looks like they've retreated deeper into the ship. Jin nodded. Stay alert. According to our intelligence, the command center should be 2 levels up. They found a transportation tube that seemed to function like an elevator. Dai studied the alien controls for a moment, then pressed a sequence of symbols. I think this will take us up, he said, not sounding entirely confident. The tube hummed to life, and they felt a slight upward movement. When the doors opened again, they found themselves in a wider corridor with more signs of damage. Panels hung from the ceiling, and sparks flew from exposed wiring. We're close, Dodd whispered, checking his scanner. Strong energy readings ahead. That must be their command center. Jin signaled the team to move forward cautiously. They had only gone a few meters when a door slid open ahead of them, and 3 Vraken soldiers appeared. The aliens were tall, nearly 2 meters, with hard exoskeletons that gleamed dully in the emergency lighting. Their 4 arms each held a different weapon, and their compound eyes reflected the humans in dozens of tiny images. For a moment, both groups froze in surprise. Then Jin shouted, "Defensive positions." The humans scattered, taking cover behind structural supports as the Vraken opened fire. Energy bolts sizzled through the air, leaving trails of ionized particles. Jin signaled to 2 of his team. "Covering fire. The rest of you, with me, we need to circle around." The team split, 2 members laying down suppressive fire, while Jin led the others through a side passage. The Vraken were focused on the immediate threat, not noticing the flanking maneuver until it was too late. Jin's group emerged behind the aliens. Their weapons, modified after studying previous Vraken attacks, fired special rounds designed to penetrate the aliens' natural armor. 2 of the Vraken fell immediately. The third turned, raising its weapons, but a well-placed shot from Jin dropped it before it could fire. "Move," Jin ordered. "There will be more coming." They raced down the corridor, following Daz's scanner toward the command center. Ahead, a massive door stood closed. Unlike the other doors they'd seen, this one was reinforced and sealed. "This is it," Daz said. "Their command center. But it's locked down." Jin examined the door. "Can you get it open?" Day studied the control panel. Not quickly, but he pointed to a smaller door nearby. "That looks like a maintenance access. It might lead to the same area." They forced open the smaller door and found themselves in a narrow service tunnel filled with cables and pipes. Crawling forward, they could hear voices ahead. The clicking speech of the Vraken. "We're behind their command center," Dodd whispered. He pointed to a panel. "That should lead right into it." Jin nodded. "Prepare breaching charges." On the Defiant, Jun watched with growing concern as the 2 undamaged Vraken ships rapidly approached. "Time to boarding team extraction." "They haven't signaled yet," Song replied. "According to their life signs, they're all still alive, but their heart rates are elevated. They must have encountered resistance." Jun made a quick decision. "Launch missile barrage, targeting the space between the approaching Vraken ships. Don't hit them, just get their attention." "Aye, Captain," the weapons officer responded. 6 missiles streaked from the Defiant, detonating in bright flashes between the approaching Vraken vessels. The aliens immediately changed course, turning their attention to the human ship. "They've taken the bait," Song observed. "But now we've got 2 angry Vraken warships coming at us." "Better us than the boarding team," Jun said. "Evasive maneuvers. Keep us in the ring system where we have cover." Inside the damaged Vraken ship, Jin's team placed small charges around the maintenance panel. "Everyone back," Jin ordered. 3, 2, 1. The charges detonated with a sharp crack, blowing the panel inward. Immediately, Jin tossed 2 stun grenades through the opening. Bright flashes and a high-pitched noise filled the Vraken command center, disorienting the aliens inside. "Now," Jin shouted, leading the charge through the opening. The Vraken command center was larger than they expected, with workstations arranged in a circle around a central holographic display. About a dozen Vraken officers were there, still recovering from the stun grenades. Jin's team moved quickly, securing the room with practiced efficiency. "Clear," one of the team members called. Day rushed to what appeared to be the main computer terminal. "This is it," he said, connecting his data extractor. "Give me 5 minutes." Jin nodded. "Team, defensive positions. Watch those doors." While Dai worked, the rest of the team prepared for the inevitable counterattack. They didn't have to wait long. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship, and they could hear the sound of running feet approaching. "Hurry, Dai," Jin urged. 3 more minutes, the engineer replied, his eyes fixed on his device as it copied data from the Vraken systems. "Their security is complex, but the damage to their systems has created openings." Outside, the first Vraken soldiers arrived, firing at the sealed command center doors. The reinforced metal began to glow red under the assault. "That door won't hold long," Jin observed grimly. "How much longer?" "Almost. There," Daz said, his fingers flying over his device. "Got it. I have their tactical database, communication logs, and technical schematics." Jin immediately activated his comm. "Defiant, this is Jin. Package secured. Requesting immediate extraction." On the bridge of the Defiant, Jun's face broke into a smile as he heard the message. "Launch the rescue shuttle," he ordered. But their situation had grown worse. The 2 undamaged Vraken ships were now firing continuously at the Defiant, forcing it to weave through the ring debris in a desperate dance of survival. "We can't hold this position long enough for the shuttle to reach them and return," Song warned. Jun's mind raced through possibilities. Then he saw it, a chance. "New plan," he announced. "Tell the boarding team to get to their shuttle and launch immediately. Don't wait for our rescue craft." "Sir?" Song looked confused. "Look here," Jun pointed to the tactical display. "The Vraken are so focused on us, they're not watching their damaged ship. If Jin's team can launch and use the damaged ship as cover, they can circle around and approach us from behind the ring debris." Song nodded in understanding. "While we keep the Vraken distracted." "Exactly," Jun confirmed. "Transmit the plan to Jin, and prepare for some very aggressive evasive maneuvers. We need to give them time." As the message reached Jin, he quickly gathered his team. "Change of plans. We make our own way out. Back to the shuttle. Double time." The team retreated from the command center just as the main doors began to give way. They raced through the corridors, occasionally exchanging fire with Vraken troops, but moving too quickly to be pinned down. When they reached their shuttle, Dai was the last to enter, clutching his precious data extractor. "This will change everything," he said, his eyes bright with excitement despite the danger. "Their weaknesses, their plans. It's all here." Jin nodded as he strapped himself in. "Let's just hope we live to deliver it. Pilot, take us out, and stay close to the hull of this ship until we're clear." The shuttle detached and began its desperate journey back to the Defiant, carrying information that could turn the tide of the entire human-Vraken conflict. The small shuttle carrying Lieutenant Jin, Engineer Dai, and their team hugged the hull of the damaged Vraken ship. Ahead of them, the 2 undamaged Vraken warships continued their relentless attack on the Defiant. Captain Jun's ship weaved through the ring debris, its shields flaring bright blue with each hit it took. "Our shields are down to 27%, Commander Song reported on the Defiant's bridge. "We can't take much more of this." Jun nodded grimly. "We just need to hold out a little longer." Any sign of Jin's shuttle? Hyun checked her sensors. Yes, they've launched and are using the damaged Vraken ship as cover, just as planned. Good, Jun said. Now for the next part of our plan. Helm, plot a course directly toward the nearest Vraken ship. Full speed. The bridge crew looked at him in shock. Sir, the helmsman asked, not sure he had heard correctly. You heard me, Jun confirmed. Full speed. Make them think we're attempting a ramming maneuver. Commander Song leaned closer. Captain, that's extremely risky. It's also the last thing they'll expect, Jun replied. They think they understand human tactics. Let's show them something new. The Defiant surged forward, accelerating straight toward the larger of the two Vraken warships. On the tactical display, they could see the Vraken ship's energy readings spike as it prepared for impact. They're powering up forward shields, Song observed, diverting power from weapons. Perfect, Jun smiled. Helm, on my mark. Execute evasive pattern Delta 7. He opened a channel to engineering. Engine room. Prepare for emergency FTL jump on my command. Sir, we can't safely enter FTL this close to a planetary body, the chief engineer protested over the comm. We're not actually jumping, Jun explained. Just power up the drive. I want the Vraken to detect the energy buildup. From the shuttle, Jin watched in amazement as the Defiant charged directly at the Vraken ship. What is the captain doing? He wondered aloud. Day studied the sensor readings. The Defiant's FTL drive is powering up. But that's impossible in this gravity well. Unless. Jin's eyes widened in understanding. Pilot, prepare to adjust course on my mark. When the Defiant makes its move, we'll use the confusion to slip past the Vraken. On the Defiant, Jun watched the distance to the Vraken ship rapidly decrease. Stand by. Stand by. At the last possible moment, he gave the order. Now, execute evasive pattern. The Defiant veered sharply downward, narrowly missing the Vraken vessel. At the same time, its FTL drive created a massive energy surge that temporarily blinded the Vraken sensors. Cut FTL power, Jun ordered. All power to rear shields and engines. The Defiant shot past the confused Vraken ship, its sudden change in direction leaving the alien vessel firing at empty space. The energy surge from the aborted FTL jump had created a cascade of false readings on the Vraken sensors. Jin, this is your window, Jun transmitted to the shuttle. Move now. The human shuttle accelerated away from the damaged Vraken ship, racing toward the Defiant. For a precious few seconds, the confusion of the battle kept the Vraken from noticing the small craft. But it didn't last long. The second Vraken warship detected the shuttle and turned to intercept. They'd spotted us, the shuttle pilot reported. Vraken ship changing course to cut us off. Jin looked at Da, who was clutching the data extractor containing the vital Vraken intelligence. We have to get that data back to the Defiant, no matter what. On the Defiant, Jun saw the danger. The shuttle will never make it if that warship intercepts them. He made a quick decision. Helm, new course. Put us between the shuttle and that Vraken ship. Captain, Song protested. Our shields are already critical. I know, Jun said firmly. But that data could save countless lives. It's worth the risk. The Defiant changed course, accelerating to place itself directly in the path of the Vraken ship pursuing the shuttle. The alien vessel fired a concentrated beam of energy at the human ship. The impact rocked the Defiant. Warning alarms blared across the bridge as systems failed. Direct hit, Song reported. Shields down. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4. Emergency bulkheads responding. Jun held onto his command chair as the ship shuddered around him. Keep us in position. We need to give the shuttle time to reach us. The Vraken ship prepared to fire again. This time, without shields, the Defiant would take devastating damage. But before the alien could fire, something unexpected happened. The damaged Vraken ship, The one Jin's team had boarded suddenly exploded in a massive ball of fire. The force of the blast caught the attacking Vrakin ship from behind, sending it tumbling off course. "What happened?" June asked, shocked by the sudden explosion. Hyun checked her readings. "It appears the damage to their ship was worse than we thought. Their power core must have finally failed." The explosion created a massive debris field that scattered throughout the ring system. The Vrakin ships were momentarily blinded and disoriented. "Shuttle approaching docking bay," Song reported. "Get them aboard immediately," Jun ordered. "As soon as they're secured, set course away from this system. Maximum speed." 5 minutes later, Jin and his team rushed onto the bridge of the Defiant. Da immediately handed the data extractor to Captain Jun. "We got it all, sir," Da said, his face flushed with excitement despite the danger they had just escaped. "Their tactical databases, weapons specifications, shield frequencies, everything." Jun took the device. "Well done, both of you. This could change everything." He turned to the helm. "Get us out of here. The Vrakin will regroup soon." As the Defiant accelerated away from the gas giant, the 2 remaining Vrakin ships began to give chase, but they were damaged and disorganized, unable to coordinate effectively after the unexpected explosion of their companion. "They're falling behind," Hyun reported. "We're going to make it." 3 hours later, the Defiant rendezvoused with Admiral Min's battle group. 9 Earth Fleet vessels, including the massive dreadnought Retribution, formed a protective screen around the damaged Defiant. In the Defiant's conference room, Jun presented the captured Vrakin data to Admiral Min and her senior officers. "This is remarkable," the Admiral said, examining the technical readouts. "Their shield systems have a critical vulnerability we never knew about. And these tactical patterns, they've been testing us, learning how we respond. But now we know how they think," Jun pointed out. "We can use their own methods against them." Admiral Min nodded slowly. "Captain Park, you and your crew have accomplished something extraordinary today. This information will help us prepare for whatever the Vrakin are planning." Day, who had been invited to the meeting to explain the technical aspects of the data, spoke up. "There's something else, Admiral. The Vrakin weren't just setting traps for our ships. According to their tactical plans, these were tests for a much larger operation." "What kind of operation?" Min asked. "An invasion," Daz said grimly. "They were planning to attack 3 major human colonies simultaneously, using what they learned from our responses to improve their tactics." A heavy silence fell over the room. "When?" Jun asked. 2 weeks from now," Day replied. "But they didn't count on us getting this information. They didn't think humans would ever turn their trap against them." Admiral Min stood, her face set with determination. 2 weeks is enough time for us to prepare a proper welcome for them." She looked at Jun. "Captain Park, you showed exceptional initiative and courage. The Vrakin thought they were leading us into a grave. Instead, you've given us the tools to make it theirs." 1 month later, Jun stood on the observation deck of the newly repaired Defiant, watching as Earth's combined fleet returned from the border regions. The Vrakin invasion force had been met with a prepared and coordinated defense, using the very weaknesses and tactical patterns found in their own data. The result had been devastating for the Vrakin. 7 of their major warships destroyed, the rest retreating in disarray. The Vrakin collective had sued for peace within days. Commander Song joined him at the window. "The latest reports say the Vrakin leadership has been overthrown. The new government wants to establish peaceful relations." Jun nodded. "Good. War benefits no one in the long run." "They underestimated us," Song observed. "They studied our compassion, our willingness to help others, and saw only weakness." "A common mistake," Jun replied. "They didn't understand that those same qualities, empathy, cooperation, self-sacrifice, are what made humans such effective survivors throughout our history." He turned from the window to face his friend. "The Vrakin set a trap, thinking they were leading us to our grave. Instead, they dug their own. Poetic. Song smiled. And a lesson they won't soon forget. Nor should we, Joan said. The universe is vast, with many intelligences we have yet to encounter. Some will be friends, some enemies. But we should never forget what makes humanity strong. As the Defiant turned toward home, Joan remembered the ancient saying, "The hunter who becomes too focused on the trap forgets to watch for the hunter behind him." The Vraken had learned this lesson the hard way, and humanity had shown once again that those who underestimated them did so at their own peril.